Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to have you here again. We appreciate your presence with us today. A fresh tale awaits your discovery. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Joseph, and what follows is a tale waiting to unfold. I never imagined I would share that I am now married to Barbara, my beloved fiancée of 2 years. She embodied all my dreams of a partner, kind, supportive, and the one I envisioned sharing my life with. When we finally exchanged vows, I found myself at a pivotal moment. After years in the military, where I took pride in my service, I felt a yearning for something more. A life that would let me wake up beside her each morning, rather than being away for months on end. The thought of leaving the military lingered in my mind, yet there was a significant obstacle standing in my way. I had no idea what I would do next. I'd spent so many years as a soldier that civilian life felt like foreign territory. I thought about different options, maybe private security, maybe something completely unrelated to the military. But every time I tried to make a decision, I hit a wall. I wanted stability, but I also wanted purpose. And I didn't want to jump into something just because I was in a rush to leave while I was still trying to figure out duty called again. I was deployed as part of a Special Forces team to assist in an operation overseas. It wasn't supposed to be a long mission, just a couple of months. I told myself just one last job, and then I'd be home for good. I comforted Barbara, assuring her that this was just a fleeting moment. When I returned, I would finally step away from the military, and together we could begin to create the life we had always dreamed of. She appeared to grasp the depth of my promise. I could sense her unease, the weight of unspoken words hanging between us. I assured her that this would be the final moment she'd have to see me leave, a pack bag in hand, filled with uncertainty about my return. In that moment, I believed in the promise I made. Yet life has a way of delivering unforeseen challenges. I had no inkling that this deployment would alter the course of everything. They informed us the mission would be simple: engage, support local forces, neutralize a threat, and return home. I didn't question it. After all, I had experienced enough of these moments to understand that clarity in the military often meant unpredictability. Everything unfolded rapidly. One moment we were meticulously clearing a compound, and the next, an explosion reverberated through the air. I barely registered what struck me as my body collided with something solid, the force stealing my breath away. Yet, the rush of adrenaline kept my mind sharp and alert. I summoned the strength to rise, my ears buzzing and my vision wavering. The battle was far from finished, so I pressed on, momentarily shutting out all distractions. I thought I was fine, just rattled. I could breathe, I could move, and that was enough. But as the hours passed, something fell off. Every breath came with a sharp stabbing sensation, like my ribs were lined with broken glass. I reassured myself that it was nothing of great concern. Yet every gentle twist, every slight bend, and even the sound of laughter brought a sharp reminder of my discomfort. It was clear that I was facing a challenge. With no proper medical care available, only field medics with their meager resources, I received a few painkillers and the advice to rest whenever possible. Still, I pressed on, pretending that all was well. I reached out to Abigail when I could, but I kept the truth of my injury hidden from her. What was the purpose behind it all? She couldn't do anything from where she was, and I knew how she worried. If I told her she'd lose sleep, she'd stress. And for what? So I downplayed everything, kept the conversation light, and told her I missed her. She had no idea that on the other end of the call, I was sitting in a makeshift barracks, forcing myself to breathe through the pain, counting down the days until I could go home. Eventually, my body made the decision for me. The pain didn't get better. It got worse. Even with the meds, they had no choice but to pull me from the field and send me back to the U.S. for proper treatment. But I had no idea that the worst pain was still ahead of me, and it had nothing to do with my ribs. When I finally got back to the U.S., the doctors confirmed what I'd already suspected: cracked ribs and internal bruising. The pain had become a part of me. By then, a dull, constant ache that flared up every time I moved too fast or took too deep a breath. They told me I was lucky. If the impact had been just a little harder, I could have suffered organ damage or a punctured lung, but luck didn't make it hurt any less. Every time I breathed, laughed, or even shifted in bed, it felt like someone was driving a screwdriver into my side. Despite all this, I kept the truth from Abigail. We talked regularly, and every time she asked how I was doing, I gave her the same answer. I'm okay, just weary. It felt simpler to wear a mask of strength, to share laughter when possible, and to promise her I'd return soon. I sensed her longing for my presence. She would always say things like, "I just want you back, I hate sleeping alone." A wave of guilt washed over me for the deception. Yet I believed it was fleeting, a mere shadow that would fade once I found solace and returned home. None of this would matter. Recovery was a slow journey. The doctors prescribed pain medication, but I loathed the way it clouded my mind and left me feeling distant. I reserved those pills for moments when the pain became unbearable. Instead, I immersed myself in breathing exercises, compelling myself to take slow, deep breaths, even when it felt as if my ribs might fracture. The initial weeks were the hardest. Sleep eluded me, and I moved with the caution of someone much older just to rise from bed. Yet gradually I found my strength. After a month, I could finally draw a deep breath without flinching. The soreness lingered, but I was able to function again, and that was enough for me. When the doctors finally gave me the green light, they advised me to take it easy and truly rest at home. That sounded appealing in theory, but I knew myself too well. I wasn't the kind to simply sit back and recover. I longed to return home and contemplate my next steps. But instead of reaching out to Abigail to share my plans, I hesitated. I decided to surprise her. I imagined the look on her face when she saw me standing in front of her. She had been saying how much she missed me, how hard it was being alone. I figured surprising her would be the perfect way to make up for all the time apart. I had no idea that I was walking straight into a nightmare. I had been waiting for this moment for months, coming home and finally holding my wife again. But as I stepped through the front door, something felt off. Normally, if Abigail was home, the TV would be on or music would be playing, but there was nothing. I closed the door behind me. Listening, what I heard instead stopped me cold. It was faint at first, a soft moan, then the unmistakable creak of our bed. My body tensed, my breath catching in my throat. Something was happening in that bedroom, and I was about to walk straight into it. I moved toward the door, my steps slow and controlled. When I pushed open the bedroom door, I saw Abigail, me wife, tangled in bed with another man. Abigail gasped, scrambling to pull the sheets over herself, while the guy, a stranger to me, fumbled, trying to cover his exposed body. "Don't move an inch before I use my gun," I commanded, my voice steady. Barbara's breath caught in her throat, and the man's face drained of color. They froze, fear gripping them, uncertain of my next move. In that moment, I caught a glimpse of my wife's eyes, wide with confusion, as if she were seeing a different side of me, one she had never known. I lingered there, the weight of the silence enveloping us all, just gazing at them. I softly commanded them to move to the living room, urging them not to cover themselves. Abigail let out a choked sob, her hands trembling as she clutched the sheets. The man appeared torn, as if he wanted to plead or reason with me, but one glance at my expression made him reconsider. Slowly, they detached themselves from the bed, their eyes cast down, their movements heavy with a sense of vulnerability. I followed them into the living room, where they stood awkwardly, attempting to shield themselves, but I wasn't about to allow them to retreat from this moment. I pulled my phone out, flipped on the camera, and hit record sit. I ordered. Abigail whimpered, fresh tears spilling down her face as she lowered herself onto the couch. The guy hesitated, his jaw tightening like he was about to protest. I took a step closer, my grip tightening on my phone, and his defiance crumbled. He sat, his shoulders hunched. "Let's begin with something uncomplicated," I spoke, my voice steady yet laced with an unsettling calm. "Who are you?" "My name is Jason," he murmured softly, almost inaudibly, as I leaned in closer, tilting my head to catch his words. "Ryaner." He spoke, his voice trembling with emotion. I turned my gaze to Barbara. She wouldn't even meet my eyes, her hands trembling as she tried to wipe away the tears that stained her cheeks. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She let out a heart-wrenching sob. "Joseph, please. How long?" She opened her mouth, but the words seemed trapped within her. Hesitated, then dropped her head. Since we got married, the words hit harder than anything I've experienced. I released a shaky breath, my fingers tightening around the phone. This had been unfolding all along, throughout our entire marriage. Abigail was now in tears, her face etched with sorrow. I felt a deep ache as I whispered, "I'm so sorry." She gasped softly. "I didn't mean to. I swear it was the devil, Joseph." I wasn't thinking. I laughed, shaking my head. "The devil," I repeated, staring at her as if she were a stranger. "You really expect me to believe that?" Her cries grew louder as she pleaded, but I had no interest in excuses, no interest in her tears at that moment. There was not a single doubt in my mind. This marriage was over, and there was no coming back from this. I turned my attention to the man beside her, the one who had shared my bed. My voice emerged cold and firm. "Get out." He hesitated, likely hoping I would calm down or allow him to salvage what little dignity remained. But I was not in the mood for patience. My tone sharpened as I repeated, "Get out now." He scrambled to his feet, reaching for his clothes on the floor. But before he could lift them, I stepped forward and barked. "No, walk out, as you are, Barbara," William gasped. "Please, just let him put something on her." Her voice was filled with desperation, trembling, yet I didn't even glance at her. She had lost the right to ask anything of me. I held his gaze, not wanting to say the same thing again. He understood that the path before him was inevitable. He could tell I wasn't bluffing for a second. He looked at Abigail like she might save him, but she was just as powerless as he was now. Without another word, he moved. I followed him, keeping my phone steady as I recorded, making sure I captured every second of his walk of shame. He stepped outside and hesitated again. But I made a small gesture with my hand, silently telling him to keep going. He took off, breaking into a jog, then a full sprint, the sound of his bare feet slapping against the pavement. And I kept filming, tracking him as he disappeared down the road. Let them all see he deserved every ounce of embarrassment that came with this. I set my phone down and let out a breath, yet a sense of relief eluded me. There was an unresolved tension within me as I turned and stepped back into the house, prepared to confront the woman who had broken my world apart. As I stepped back inside, I found Abigail had hastily dressed, perhaps believing it would ease the tension. Yet, her presence did little to diminish the weight of what I had just seen. She stood before me, her eyes swollen from tears, her lips quivering as if she yearned to speak but was lost for words. In that moment, her silence spoke volumes, and I felt no need for her to articulate what lingered between us. I took a deep breath, then spoke directly. "It's over." She began to approach me, her hands extending as she pleaded, "Joseph, please," her voice trembling with emotion. I wasn't aware that I had erred. "I love you, I promise." I raised my hand, pausing her in that moment. "You have two choices," I said. "Either you leave this house, or I will. But if I walk out, I'm done paying for this place, which means you're on your own." Her face crumpled. She knew exactly what that meant. We were renting, and the lease was in my name. Every bill, every expense, I covered it. If I left, she'd have to figure out how to keep a roof over her head. That was no longer my concern. She fell apart entirely, sinking to her knees, pleading softly. "I'm asking you to reconsider." I lost myself in the moment, and I promise I will do whatever it takes to mend this. I didn't spend my energy on pointless arguments. She reached out, yearning for a connection, but I felt empty, unable to offer her solace. I took my phone, opened our family group chat, and shared the video for all to witness. Then, I quietly exited the conversation. I felt no need to witness their responses, nor did their words hold any weight for me. In less than a moment, Barbara's phone erupted with calls and messages. Her family had caught wind of it all. They were reaching out, seeking clarity. She struggled with her phone, her voice trembling as she attempted to convey her thoughts. I chose not to linger for the explanations. She offered them my belongings, still resting by the door where I had left them upon entering. I gathered my things, draping the bag over my shoulder, and stepped outside. Barbara's cries resonated in the air behind me, but I didn't turn back. Weeks later, when Abigail received the divorce papers, I sensed the moment she laid eyes on them. My phone began to ring incessantly. First, it was her, then her sister, followed by an unknown number. I didn't recognize, but could guess I didn't answer any of them. I had made my decision the moment I caught her in that bed, and nothing was going to change it. There was no speech. She could give no amount of tears. She could cry that would undo what I saw with my own eyes. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed, and trust. Abigail found it difficult to release what we once shared. She persistently sought to sway my decision about the divorce. It began with heartfelt apologies, the same familiar ones echoing in the air. I'd already heard 100 times, then came the excuses. She was lonely, she was weak, she wasn't thinking straight, the devil made her do it. I didn't respond when that didn't work. She switched to bargaining. We could go to therapy, we could start fresh. She would do anything, everything to make it right. But there was no right anymore. There was only the truth, and the truth was that I didn't want her. I didn't want to be in a marriage where I had to wonder who she was with when I wasn't home. I didn't want to live with the image of her and her ex burned in my mind. Every time I looked at her, I still planned to upload the video of that bastard running naked through the neighborhood. That video wasn't just proof of what happened. It was a reminder that I saw the truth with my own eyes once the divorce was finalized. I would share it, allowing the world to witness the essence of the man he was, letting him experience the same weight of humiliation he so easily imposed on me. As for myself, I was still navigating through the uncertainty. Before all of this, I had envisioned a future beyond the military, a chance to settle down and embrace something new. Yet now, doubt clouded my path, and my future loomed like an immense question mark. Everything I believed I was constructing had disintegrated in an instant. The military, with all its trials, had provided me with clarity. Out here, I felt adrift. In the depths of my heart, uncertainty lingered like a shadow. One truth remained. Love had become a stranger to me. I had encountered peril, endured suffering, and brushed against mortality. Yet nothing had pierced my spirit quite like this. A physical wound may mend, but the scars of the soul are a different tale, lingering long after the pain has faded. Perhaps in the future, I would cross paths with someone who could awaken those dormant feelings, but for now, I was weary, exhausted from the dance of love, from the vulnerability that left me exposed and fragile. This is where my journey stands. That's what happened. I don't tell it for sympathy. I don't seek pity. I share this because the sting of betrayal is profound, often emerging from those we trust most. If you found yourself in my shoes, witnessing what I witnessed, how would you have responded?